sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the whitewashed cliffs of Santorini. The island buzzed with the hum of summer tourists, their laughter mingling with the crash of waves against volcanic rock. Alina stood at the edge of the balcony, her silver hair catching the breeze, her emerald eyes tracing the outline of the caldera. At 32, she was a vision, slender, poised, with a quiet strength that drew people in. Her husband, Daniel, was inside their rented villa, his voice a faint murmur as he spoke on the phone, arranging yet another business call. Before we jump in, real quick, most of you who enjoy these videos still haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, please take a second to hit that button. It helps with channel growth so much and means more than you know. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. Now, let's begin. 10 years of marriage had softened the edges of their passion, leaving behind a comfortable, predictable rhythm. But tonight, something restless stirred in her. Villa perched high above the sea, its terrace adorned with flickering lanterns that cast playful shadows on the stone walls. It was their anniversary trip, a chance to rekindle what time had dulled. Yet Daniel's attention remained tethered to his work, and Alina felt the familiar pang of neglect. She sighed, smoothing the fabric of her flowing white dress, and wandered toward the narrow path that led to the village square. She needed air, movement, something to shake off the weight of routine. Streets of Oya were alive with color, vendors hawking jewelry, musicians strumming bouzoukis, and couples strolling hand in hand. Alina paused at a small stall where an old woman sold hand-painted lanterns, each one glowing with a tiny flame. "For love," the woman said in broken English, pressing one into Alina's hands. "Light it, make a wish." Alina smiled, humoring her, and lit the wick. As the flame danced, she whispered a vague wish for something new, something alive. He carried the lantern, its warmth a quiet companion, until she reached the edge of the village where the crowd thinned. A steep staircase descended toward the Amauti Bay, its steps worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Curiosity tugged at her, and she followed it, the lantern swaying in her grip. The air grew cooler as she descended, the sound of the sea growing louder. At the bottom, the bay unfolded before her, a hidden cove framed by red cliffs, the water shimmering under the first stars. Fishing boats bobbed gently, and a single taverna glowed with string lights, its tables spilling onto the rocky shore. A man stood near the water's edge, his silhouette sharp against the twilight. He was tall, with dark hair tousled by the wind, and he held a fishing net in his hands, untangling it with practiced ease. Alina hesitated, but the lantern's light caught his attention. He looked up, his eyes a deep, stormy gray locking with hers. "Lost?" he asked, his voice low and accented, a trace of Greek curling through the word. "Not exactly," she replied, stepping closer. "Just exploring." He grinned, setting the net aside. "This isn't a place for tourists. Too quiet. Most prefer the noise up there." He nodded toward the cliffs above. "Maybe I'm not most," she said, surprising herself with the edge in her tone. His name was Nikos, a local fisherman who'd grown up on the island. He was younger than her, perhaps 28, with a rugged charm that felt untamed next to Daniel's polished demeanor. They talked first about the island, then about nothing in particular. The lantern sat between them on a weathered table outside the taverna, its flame flickering as the night deepened. He offered her a glass of ouzo, and she accepted, the anise-flavored burn waking her senses. Hours slipped by unnoticed. Nikos told her stories of storms that swallowed boats whole, of secret caves beneath the cliffs, of a life shaped by the sea. She found herself laughing, leaning closer, her guard dissolving with each sip. When he reached for her hand to show her a callus from the nets, his touch lingered, and she didn't pull away. The air crackled with something unspoken, something dangerous. "Do you ever feel trapped?" she asked suddenly, her voice soft but raw. Like you're living someone else's life. Nico studied her, his gaze piercing. Every day, but the sea sets me free. What about you? He didn't answer, but her silence said enough. The lantern's flame flared as a gust of wind swept through the cove, and in that moment, she felt seen, truly seen for the first time in years. He stood, offering his hand. "Come with me," he said. "One more story." He led her to a small boat tethered to the dock. Its hull painted a faded blue. "Just a short ride," he promised, helping her aboard. She hesitated, glancing back at the cliffs where Daniel slept, oblivious. But the pull of the unknown was stronger. The boat rocked as Nikos rowed them out into the bay, the water black and endless beneath a sky studded with stars. He pointed to a jagged rock rising from the sea, its surface glowing faintly in the moonlight. "They call it the Lover's Leap," he said. "Legend says a woman jumped from there when her husband sailed away and never returned. She didn't want to live without him, or maybe she didn't want to live for him anymore." Lena shivered, the story sinking into her bones. "What do you think she felt?" "Freedom," Nico said simply, "even if it killed her." The boat drifted closer to the rock, and Nikos cut the oars, letting the current carry them. He turned to her, his face half-shadowed, and the space between them shrank. She could smell the salt on his skin, feel the heat of his breath. "You're not like the others who come here," he murmured. "You're searching for something." "And you?" she whispered. "I think I just found it." Kiss came like a wave, sudden, inevitable, crashing over her. His lips were rough, tasting of ouzo and the sea, and she melted into him, her hands tangling in his hair. The boat swayed beneath them, the world narrowing to the press of his body against hers, the scrape of his stubble on her skin. Her dress slipped from her shoulder, and his fingers traced the curve of her collarbone, igniting a fire she'd forgotten she could feel. It wasn't just desire, it was rebellion, a reclaiming of something lost. It didn't stop. The boat became their sanctuary, the rocking of the waves a rhythm to their urgency. Her white dress pooled on the deck, and the cool night air kissed her bare skin as Nikos pulled her closer. It was reckless, raw, a betrayal woven with exhilaration. She didn't think of Daniel, didn't think of the villa, or the life waiting above the cliffs. There was only this Nikos, the sea, and the fleeting freedom of the moment. When it was over, they lay tangled in the boat, the lantern's light long extinguished. The silence was heavy, broken only by the lap of water against the hull. Reality crept back in, sharp and cold. "I should go," she said, her voice trembling as she pulled her dress back on. Nikos didn't argue. He rowed her back to the shore, his expression unreadable. "Will I see you again?" he asked as she stepped onto the dock. She shook her head, unable to meet his eyes. "I don't know." The climb back to the villa was a blur, her legs unsteady, her mind racing. The lanterns on the terrace still burned, and Daniel was asleep, his phone resting on his chest. She slipped into bed beside him, the scent of Nikos still clinging to her skin, the memory of his touch, a secret she'd carry forever. The next morning, Daniel surprised her with breakfast on the terrace, his smile warm and oblivious. "Did you sleep well?" he asked, pouring her coffee. "Yes," she lied, her voice steady. "The island's beautiful at night." They spent the day together, exploring the cliffs, laughing over shared memories. But every glance at the bay below twisted something inside her. She crossed a line she couldn't uncross, and yet she didn't regret it, not fully. Nikos had given her a taste of something she'd buried. A piece of herself she hadn't known was missing. On their last night, Alina stood alone on the terrace, staring at the sea. A fisherman's boat bobbed in the distance, its silhouette faint against the horizon. She lit a new lantern, watching the flame rise, and made another wish, not for forgiveness, but for courage. Whatever came next, she'd face it as the woman she'd rediscovered in the shadow of Lover's Leap.